Hello friends, are you storing the API keys, passwords or the database connection strings in your app? Stop, that's a security risk. In this video, I'll show you how Azure Key Vault protects your secrets, encrypts the data and eliminates the need for storing the credentials. Come, let's dive in. Let's take a look at the overview of this video. So we will start with what is Azure Key Vaults and why it is important, the key components of the Azure Key Vaults, followed by the real world use cases, why and when to use each components. And followed by we will be doing a demo on creating the Azure Key Vault, storing and retrieving the secrets, accessing the Key Vault using the managed identity and the best practice and security tips so that your app can actually access the data from the Azure Key Vault securely without any credentials. So what is the Azure Key Vault? Key Vaults are nothing but a cloud-based secure store for managing the sensitive informations. So this will help protect the encryption keys, secrets, certificates. This also eliminates the need to store the credential in your application code. You don't need to store it in the configuration, don't need to hardcode it, you don't need to do any of those things. It's centralized, stored in one place. So why you use the Azure Key Vault? This actually improves the security by preventing any of those hard-coded secrets in the application, followed by this is a centralized management for the secrets, keys and certificates. Also, we can assign the role, which is role-based access control, and managed identity supports are possible with the Azure Key Vault. It's also supporting the auditing and the monitoring to track the secret usage, who's doing what, when it has been destroyed, all of those things. So let's come to the components of the Key Vault. So these are the components of the Key Vaults. Okay, there are three main components. The first one is the key. So what are keys? Keys are nothing but the cryptographic keys that are used for the data encryption and the digital signing. I'll explain you in a bit. This also supports the RC algorithm and EC key types. So this can generate, store and manage the hardware backed keys. It's very important. It's also supporting the HSM backed key. So let's take a look at when to use these keys. So when to use the keys? For encrypting the files, database records or the application data. For those kind of things, we use these keys to do this encryption. And for also signing the JWT token. So basically the token that you have, right? So they generate the token based on a key for signing the key so that the other party can decode it. Okay, so that's used in the authentication workflow, and we will also be using this for securing the SSL and TLS certificates. So if you consider the real world example, a banking app that encrypts the user transaction before storing them into the database using the Azure Key Vault. So there will be key in the Key Vault. They'll use this to encrypt the transaction for the user and then store it in the database, and using the same key they'll be able to decrypt and show the actual value to the user, so that all the encryption in the database is done and nobody can actually go to the database and view what it is. Right, the second important component in the Key Vault is the secret. So this is used to store the sensitive values. Like what are secrets? Like it can store the password, connection string of an application, some API keys, tokens, certificates. All of these things are called secrets. So this actually prevents us to not to hardcode any credentials in the application. So when do you use the secret? For example, right, storing the database connection string securely, or keeping the API keys or the OAuth tokens safe. You can also store the password for managing the services without exposing them. So let's take an example of the real world application. So let's say you have a .NET Core Web API, okay, that eventually has its database connection string. So you can store those API, so you can store those database connection string securely in the Azure Key Vault secret instead of hardcoding it in the app settings.json. And there are many other examples, like for example, you can also store the ADB2C client ID, tenant ID, all of those like secrets, all of those configurations that you feel it is important can be stored in the Key Vault and can be accessed from the application without even any password, which we are going to see in the demo in the last. So stay tuned. The third part is the certificates. So this is used for the secure communication. That's the third last important component in the Key Vault. So what are certificates? Like it is for SSL, like secure server layer, and they are also called TLS. So these are the certificate used for the encrypted communication. Okay, and it can be self-signed or imported from the public certificate authorities, like what's called CAs. So when to use certificates? SSL, TLS encryption for the web application, we can use the certificate, and we can use the client authentication in the APIs. We can use for securing the service to service communication. Let's take an example of the real world. Okay, so let's say a company secures its Azure web app with an SSL certificate, which is actually stored in the Azure Key Vault. So if you type HTTPS, means it has a SSL certificate. So a company can actually have its own SSL certificate that can be saved in the Azure Key Vault and can be used to integrate between these two. Alright guys, now it's a demo time. So we're going to see how we can create the Azure Key Vault in the Azure portal. We can see how we will store and retrieve the secrets, and also the last one is the super important one, using the managed identity, how you can access the secrets from the Azure Key Vault more securely without credentials. So go to portal.azure.com and log in with your credential. Okay, so I've already logged in and I have a lot of resources. If you look at this, all resources, I have many resources and everything is free so far, right? So if you always wonder how it is free, there are plenty of videos in my channel that tells you how to set up the free account and how you can use the free resources that is provided by Microsoft always. Alright, so now go to the search button and type the key vaults. Then you will see something like this. Click on it. And right now I already have a key vault that I already tested it, so that's why it's showing up here. But what you can do is, if you're doing it for the first time, click on the create. But before I proceed, just wanted to let you know, if you have used this Azure Key Vault, if you have used the Azure portal for the first time, if you already have some $200 free credit, use it. And those who have already crossed 12 months, probably the Key Vault is going to cost a bit like I think a couple of dollars. But don't worry, for learning this, you can just learn everything and then delete everything. Okay, so that is also I will show you. So don't be afraid, always try to learn by doing it. Now click on create. It will show up this basic blade where you have to fill up all of the information. So I have 4 subscription, that's why I have these 4 listed. One, I have dedicated subscription for the Azure demos that I'm doing it for the channel, so that the cost associated with this will come up under the subscription. Alright, so I'm going to choose that. You choose whatever subscription you have. Resource group, I already have a resource group, so I'm going to choose this. If you wanted to create a new resource group, click on create new. Basically every single resource will come under a resource group. Okay, it's like a parent and child. A child can always be under a parent, right? It has to be under a parent, but a parent can have many children. So basically a resource group can have many resources under it. Okay, if you feel the example is very bad, just let me know in the comment section. I will definitely correct it in the next one. So I'm going to choose the existing resource group, and here is the one that you need to provide a key vault name. Okay, so I'm going to provide a key vault name which is unique. So I'm going to say LSC Key Vault demo app, maybe just demo. Okay, it's already taken. So let's put this. So I named it like this, LSC Key Vault demo Azure, just to make it unique. You can give whatever you want. Region, under which region it is going to fall. For me it's US East, based on the closest region. And pricing tier, choose as standard. Premium is like I said in the video, it is supported by the HSM backed keys. We don't need this. Premium tier will be used only by the organization. For us it's standard is enough. So then you see the soft delete. See, soft delete is already enabled. Soft delete means basically if you accidentally delete any of the secrets or certificates or keys, you can actually retrieve it. That's why the soft delete is by default, it is enabled by these days. Okay, and then you can also see days to retain the delete values for the for the vault, 90 days. And here is the important thing. By default, purge protection is disabled. Okay, meaning it will allow the key vaults and object to be purged during the retention period. So for example, if you delete it and if you want to force delete it from the system, like from the key vault, then it will allow you. But if you enable this, there will be some default value. It will stay there until the default number of days is finished. Only then you can force delete it. Okay, so I will show you this. Okay, so let's go to the next step. Access control. Access control, the recommended access control is the role based access control. Okay, so this is recommended. We can also use policy based, but let's go with the role based one. And then it is also telling you whether any of these resources like Azure virtual machines, resource manager, or the Azure disk encryption, can these resource access this key vault? If you wanted to do so, then you do a check mark here. Okay, but for our demo we don't need it, so go with this one. Next is networking. Networking is basically, if I have a URL to access the key vault, can I access that from the public network through the internet? If you say yes, then it's called enable. If you say no, it will be disable. And if there is some particular restriction in companies, they will use this kind of thing. Okay, so for us it's going to be enable. It's publicly accessible. All networks or selected networks. Selected network means basically you can specify under which IP the request will come and it will be allowed. Those kind of things we don't need it for this demo. We will say it's all network. Okay, but anytime you can set up a private endpoint. Again, private endpoint will be done from the organization side. We don't need this. This is good to know when they do it, but for now we don't need this. Next, let's go to tag. So I'm saying YouTube channel. I would say channel name. Okay, so now as next, you can skip the tag if you want, but tag is good to have. It's always, we are giving some information to the resource, so later you can actually find out how it has been used with respect to the buildings and all of those things. Okay, so now everything looks good. I'm going to click on create. Deployment is in progress. It takes few minutes. Let's wait for it. Few minutes, the resource got deployed. I can click on go to resource, and this is what your key vault is. Okay, so if you look at this under object, under to this left side, you have three important components called keys, secrets, and certificates. Okay, so let's go one by one. Keys, if I go and click on keys and say generate, I can generate a key. So basically, if I say generate, right, I can either import the existing key, I can restore it from the existing backup, or I can generate a new key. I will tell you when this key is used. Okay, so I'm going to generate a new key. Let's say I'm giving a name called storage account encryption. I can choose what type of key. These are the algorithms, RSA and EC, and this is the size of the algorithm, like size of the key. The more bigger, the more stronger. Okay, but for demo we don't need it, but we can just choose RSA, and 2048 is the RSA key. And you can also set when it has to be activated, when it has to expire, but if you don't choose, it's immediately active. Okay, it's enabled. You can also disable it, and then everything looks good. I'm gonna create a key. See, a new key is created. If I go here, this is the keys ID, and there will be a, if I just download this, see, there will be a key generated. Okay, so look at this, download. Let's open this. I will show you how the key looks. So this is the key that looks like this is the big key. Now we're going to use this key to encrypt a particular data. Okay, so you know how the key looks, right? So I'm going to minimize this. So now you know how a key is generated. You can also generate many keys. You can actually go inside and you can say new version. So key name will not change. If I click on new version, I'm going to have the same name, but it's a second version of the key, meaning the key is updated. Okay, so you can do so. Generally, they will do on a rotation basis, or in case if the key is compromised, they will do so. Okay, now you can also, if you delete the keys, you can go to the manage deleted keys, and the manage deleted keys will show you the deleted keys here. Okay, you can actually click on it and restore it. So for example, if I go here and say delete, the key is deleted, right? So if I go to keys, see, there is no key, but if I go to manage deleted keys, the key is coming here. Now here comes the important thing called soft delete and purge protection. So soft delete means it is deleted here, it is not disappeared. I can click here and say recover. If I do so, this key will be restored here. If I do a refresh, the key will come here. Great. So if I'm going to delete this, okay, see, the key went and the key is in the deleted stage. Now if you remember when we started, the purge protection was disabled. If the purge protection was enabled, if I select this button will be disabled. But because it is disabled right now, meaning it is in soft delete mode, I can actually forcefully purge it and it will delete completely. Like it will permanently get deleted and there won't be key here or here to restore it. Okay, so that's called purge protection. So accidentally, even if someone don't want to delete from the soft delete, generally in company the purge protection will be enabled. Okay, it's not enabled by default, but it can be enabled. But once it is enabled, you cannot go back to the old state called like you cannot undo enabled one. It's enabled means enabled for the key vault. Okay, now we mistakenly deleted the key, so I'm gonna put that back. I'm just gonna name it. Everything is okay, so let's create a key. So this is how the key works, right? Now second part is the secret. I'll show you how the keys are used in a system, but let's go to secret for now. Let's say I'm here and I'm going to, so here what I'm going to do, I'm going to name something like database connection string, and here goes the connection string. So let's say this is the connection string. Okay, I'm just randomly giving some name. Okay, I really don't know what is this name. Okay, so I've given some name, or I can just say something. Okay, let's say some connection string. Okay, now again same thing, activation, deactivation, tags, and then I'd say create. Okay, so there is a database connection string created. You can actually view the name, like you can view the value here. So secret value, see some random values, but generally speaking it will have the real connection string value. Okay, so let's hide this. Let's go back. Okay, so far good. There's a connection, it's a secret. So similarly, okay, so look at this. So in our application we have a connection string, right? So we have a connection string here. So this connection string can be stored, the value can be stored there. Similarly, if you look at this, okay, this is important. Okay, what else is important? See, there's some secret is there. This is important. All of these things are secret values that I don't want it to store here. I can actually take all of these values and see, this is API key. All of these values can be actually stored here, and application can access that from here, like from the application. So those kind of things is what the secret is used. Okay, so now we will take a look at how we will access this connection string using the managed entity in the third demo. But let's stick around the third one, certificate. Similarly, you can actually create a certificate, which right now I cannot do, but basically if you give a name, so for example this is a certificate name, self-signed certificate. You can actually have the subject here. If you configure everything properly, you can create a certificate here. And we are not going to create any certificate here, but we know why the certificates are used, for the service to service communication. Okay, so for those kind of thing, or TLS or SSL, for those kind of things certificates are required. So we know these three concepts, right? Let's jump on to the important thing. Alright, so I have a demo app. Don't worry about the code. The code will be given in the github.com. So focus on the important work, right? So I have a Key Vault controller. Basically, I need to install the package called Azure Identity and Azure security.keyvault.secret. Okay, so once I install these two package with the small piece of code, so basically we're saying this is the secret name that we created, and this is the Key Vault URL, which you can get it from the overview. So from the overview, you can go here and copy the secret Key Vault URL. So you can replace these two according to what you created, and then basically what we're doing is we are going to use this and use the default Azure credentials. I will tell you in a bit. Default Azure credential means, if you look at this, I have logged in. Okay, I have logged in using my learnsmartcoding@gmail.com, because that is the one which I used in the portal. I have full access, so when it runs with the default credential with my identity, it runs because I have full rights, and I run this and get to this endpoint. Okay, it is going to retrieve the secret of what we are looking for. And look at this. If I enter this is the value that we gave, right? So automatically the value was retrieved from the secret. Okay, so when you download the same source code and try, you may not get it, but if you try everything from first in your own portal, because you have full access to your portal, you will get the value. Now here is the important thing. So just for this demo purpose, what I've done is I have created one web app and I'm going to deploy the code that I showed you to this one. Okay, so I'm going to already configure this. I'm going to quickly do a publish, stop this and do publish. Okay, so let's see what happens, right? So while it is getting deployed, I'll explain you what is going to happen. So when I was running this application locally, it knows who I am. All right, but when this application is deployed, it is just a resource in Azure. It doesn't have anything, like it has its own identity but nothing else apart from identity. Okay, so for example, so let's take a look. Let's go here. What do we have? We have weather forecast. So let's say, so we're going to go here and right click and say weather forecast. So application is working. Okay, but what happens if I try to access the same URL, whichever was working? Ideally it should work, right? But it won't work. You see the error? It says caller is not authorized to perform an action. So which means our key vault is now secured. It is denying the assignment. It is denying that, hey, request is coming from this one. I don't know who you are. You have no access to Azure Key Vault. So I will not honor your request. So the code failed. That is what the Key Vault is. Key Vault is very secured. Until unless we give permission, nobody can access the Key Vault. Okay, so how do we use the managed identity concept to ensure that this application has access to the Key Vault? That is what we're going to see next. Okay, so I'm going to go to this web application like this, and then if you go to this left hand side and keep scrolling, under the security there is something called identity. So click on identity. Okay, now for you guys, when you do for the first time, the status will be off. All what you have to do is you need to switch on, and the moment you on, there will be some object. It will be shown like this. Okay, so this number, whatever this is displaying, is the one which represents. So this is the one that represents for the web application. So we know who's now here. Okay, and you can also see this is called system identity. System identity means only one identity. For each resource there will be one identity to represent who that resource is. Okay, user assigned identity means we can assign some managed identity to this resource. Okay, so let's not talk about it right now. Let's focus on how managed identity works or system identity works. Okay, so we know, like from on to on, like from off to on we did, and there was a principal ID generated. Okay, so just remember this. I'm going to copy this. Okay, copy this, and then what I'm going to do is, let's go to this newly created Key Vault. Go to access control IAM. Okay, and then here what you do is click on add role assignment. Okay, so in this one we will choose, so there is something called Key Vault secret user. So I'm going to choose that role, which is an inbuilt role based access control. That's all back, right? So I'm choosing this. Click on next. It's going to come to the members, and here is the one which we're going to choose. So there are two types of thing. One is user, who are like us. There's a group under which a lot of people are there, or there is something called service principal. So service principal and managed identity, it's going to come in the next video, but basically user, group, service principal are categorized as one type, meaning if you have a login, you belong to user. Administrator can create a group and under which a lot of people can go inside, and they can assign permission to the group, which means assigning permission to all of the users who are under the group. Service principal, again I said, that's a separate manually assigned permission. We will talk about in the next video. And the one that we are choosing right now is the managed identity, or called system identity. So choose that and click on select members. Azure subscription, that is what we are dealing with, and managed identity. Okay, so there is only one managed identity already, which is under app service. Choose that and it will list down here. Click on it, say select. Now if you look at this, the one that I copied, I'm going to paste it here. See, the one I copied is nothing but the identity, which is what we have chosen here. Okay, that's why I copied here, to prove you that whatever displayed is nothing but the ID that I chose. Click on next. Everything is looking good. Review and assign. Okay, so now we are saying we are assigning this managed identity, meaning this web application, to have read access to the secrets. So now if I go here and say enter, it got permission. That's why it is able to talk to the key vault and retrieve the data. Okay, for example, if I decide I should not give permission, go to the role assignment and it will list down to who has access. I can choose this and simply delete this. Now what happens? I revoked the access. If I go again, as soon as the revoking is done, see, I lost the access. Okay, so that's simple. I'm on the resource group level. Under the resource group, if I go to access control, let's say I'm removing myself, which means the role assignment is removed. Okay, so if I refresh, I'm just an owner. I'm owner for the subscription level. Now if I go to this resource group overview and go inside the key vault, or if I try to create the secret here, okay, you will see this kind of an operation. If you're not a key vault administrator, if you go to the key vault and try to create secret, you'll see this kind of an issue. To solve this issue, you need to go to this resource group level, go to this access control, go to add role assignment, choose key vault administrator, next user, select member. It's myself, I'm selecting myself. Everything looks good. Next and assign. The moment I assign the key vault administrator to myself, now I can go to the resource group, go to the key vault. If you look at this, I will be inherited with my access called administrator. Now if I go to secret, try to create a secret, you will not find any such error. Okay, so now you know what to do. Let's recollect. For key vault, you need to have a key vault administrator, an owner, and then you can assign the manage identity permission to any of the web app to access the key vault. All right, okay guys. All right, so now its demos done. Let's revise our best practice and security tips. So this managed identity, whatever you saw, that is used to avoid storing these secrets in the code. You can also use the RBAC and the access policies to restrict the access that you also see in the in the demo. And this key vault, right, you can also enable the soft delete and purge protection to prevent accidental data loss. Okay, and the last part is this monitoring and audit secret usage with the Azure Monitor. So these are the best practices that you can follow, and some of the important security tips. Here is the summary. So Azure Key Vault provides a secure way to manage the keys, secrets, and certificate, because those three are the three important components of the Azure Key Vault. You can use the managed identity for a given resource to access the secrets from the Azure Key Vault. That is what we saw in the demo. And this will protect your application with the proper access policy and auditing system. So now you know how to securely manage the secrets and keys in the Azure Key Vault. If you found this helpful, hit the like button, subscribe for more Azure tutorials, and drop a comment below with your question. So stay tuned, and I'll see you in the next video, guys. Bye bye. Thanks for watching. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more tech tutorials. And don't forget to hit the bell icon to get notified when we post new videos. If you have any questions or suggestions, leave them in the comments below. Happy coding!